Okay, enough of that. Whew, all right, we made it through. Good morning, New Vision. How y'all feeling this morning? Y'all okay? All right, I'll take that. Last week we started a brand new series called This is Home. And for many of us, that is the sentiment as we walk in here each week. That as we say hi to our hospitality team, that as we come in here for worship, that we have felt and experienced that this is home. And as we get into this series, Pastor Kevin opened us up last week and talked about what it means to reach, restore, and release. Each week, we will talk about what it means for this to be home. We will talk about who we are, the things that we value, and why many of you would say that this is home. If this is your very first time here, we haven't had the privilege of meeting. I'm Pastor Tasia. I'm the worship pastor here. And today, in honor of our new series, as well as Pastor Kevin and Melissa's 5-year anniversary, you will not just hear from me, but you will also hear from our family ministries pastors, Pastor Bridget and Pastor Darius. You can give it up for that. Today, as we walk into week 2 of the This Is Home series, one of the most beautiful things that we value here at this church, and I just said it before, but we value community and we value relationships. And there are many of you right now who are nodding your heads because if you have been here for any amount of time, you know it, you see it, you feel it every time that you walk in here. That it's not just something that we say, or again, that's plastered on our wall, that we are family, but you're living it. Some of you, the very reason that you are here this morning is because of community and relationships. That an invite at one point to my friend's church or my cousin's church or their church has now become my church, my home, my family. And if you've been here for a while, I'm sure that you've heard Pastor Kevin say that with was always God's plan. That we were designed to do life with one another. And so today we're going to talk about and walk through community and relationships and why they are so important. Similar to last week, we're going to walk through a story. Pastor Kevin talked about what was essentially Simon Peter's last time as a fisherman. Well, today, and we didn't plan this at all, but today we are going to walk through the story of one of the first times that we see Simon as a fisherman. So we will be in Luke chapter 5. The title of our message this morning, for those of you taking notes, is that proximity matters. We're going to start in Luke 5, verse 1. It says, "One day, as Jesus was preaching on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, great crowds pressed in on him to listen to the word of God. He noticed 2 empty boats at the water's edge, for the fishermen had left them and were washing their nets. Stepping into one of the boats, Jesus asked Simon, its owner, to push it out into the water. So he sat in the boat and taught the crowds from there." Now, I want to pause here for just a moment. As much as this part of the story just seems like introduction or like we're getting into the story, there are actually 3 different things that we find out in just these first 3 verses. So 1, we find out that Jesus was teaching, he was preaching on the beach. 2, we find out that he asked Simon if he could use his boat. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love about Jesus is that he asks us to be a part of the things that he's doing. We know that he didn't need Simon's boat. 1, there were 2 other boats on the shore, and so he didn't need Simon's boat, and he definitely didn't need Simon's boat to continue to do the ministry that he was doing. Similar to Jesus, or similar to his life here on the earth, he had 12 disciples to help him do ministry. He didn't need 12 disciples to help him do the things that he was doing. He probably could have done a better job with it on his own. And even now, he continues to call and appoint each of us to continue to build his kingdom, even though he really doesn't need us to do that either. He could have done it all by himself, but he asks us to be a part, because again, with was always God's plan. And on top of that, proximity matters to Jesus. Closeness with you matters to him. Again, this is not, I mentioned it to refer to Pastor Kevin, but Jesus is not some line leader that expects us to fall in line with everything he says and he does. And he's like, watch me. But he wants closeness with you. He wants to walk with us hand in hand, interlocks fingers. He wants proximity to you. And so that's 2. The third thing that we find out from just these first 3 verses is that Simon and the other fishermen were actually done fishing for the day. Okay, it says in verse 2 that they were washing their nets, which means that they were packing it up, they were getting ready to go. And so when Jesus asked Simon if he could use his boat, Simon could have very easily said no. He could have very easily said, you know what, Jesus, I'm actually getting ready to head out. You can use that other boat over there. Or, you know what, Jesus, I've actually had a really long night. Plot twist or spoiler alert, he didn't catch anything all night. And so I'm a little frustrated. I don't really want you to use my boat. Simon could have said no, but instead Simon lets Jesus into his boat. Today, I want to encourage you to let Jesus into your boat. Now, whether that means accepting Jesus into your life as your Lord and Savior for the very first time, whether that means finally submitting to his will and to his way and to do things his way, or that means to stop running from him and the things that he has for you and decide today finally that you are going to follow him fully. Or maybe for others of you, you've accepted Jesus into your life, but there are still pockets and pieces of your life that you're kind of withholding. Or there are areas in your life where, Jesus, you can have all of this minus this. Maybe letting Jesus into your boat means allowing him into some of those pieces and pockets of your life. Maybe that means allowing him into that financial situation, or allowing him to heal the wounds that you're kind of holding on to. Today, I want to encourage you to let Jesus into your boat. But I don't just want to stop there. Don't just let Jesus into your boat. Let people into your boat. There are many of us who are really, really good at letting Jesus into our boat. This is me right here. I'm really good at letting Jesus into my boat. And I would encourage you again, don't just stop there. Allow for community and relationships in your boat. Create space and make room for people in your boat. This is where I struggle. I will let Jesus in my boat all day. Jesus, I'm frustrated about this. Jesus, I'm heartbroken about this. Jesus, this is where I'm struggling. Jesus, I've had a great day. But then when it comes to building relationships and being in community with other people, my natural inclination is to keep about an arm's length distance away from people. And not just like my arm's distance, but like D. Chris, the big black dude who was standing up here earlier, like about his arm's length distance away, because it's safer, right? Like if I mess up, if I fall short, no one's close enough to see it or to be harmed by it. And so, hey, no harm, no foul. And on top of that, I got Jesus in my boat. So Jesus is going to hold me accountable. Jesus is going to call me out. Jesus is going to heal me and walk with me. So, hey, I'm good. But here's the truth that I was challenged with in that. And I've already said it a few times today, but just in case you haven't quite caught on, yes, Jesus can do it all by himself, but he has this beautiful habit of choosing people, because with was always God's plan. So let people into your boat. And as we allow for proximity, not just with Jesus, but with people, here's what it does. Here we go, verse 4. It says, when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, now go out to where it is deeper and let down your nets to catch some fish. So Jesus looks at Simon and all of his fishermen friends that are in the boats, and he says, let's go out into further water. And for that, I have to say this. Proximity and closeness with Jesus will always challenge you to go deeper. It'll always challenge you to go further. And this right here, this is why proximity matters. When we let Jesus into our boat, it will always challenge us to go further. And today, as we continue to talk about proximity and why it matters and why we are to let Jesus and people in our boats, let's hear today from somebody who's in my boat.
Good, Pastor Tasia. I'm going to pick up right where she left off in verse 4, where she read that Jesus told them to let down their nets to catch some fish. But before we start talking about catching fish, I want to read in verse 5 and point out a few important things there first together, okay? So let's read this together. Verse 5, Master, Simon replied, we worked hard all last night and didn't catch a thing. But if you say so, I'll let the nets down again. The first thing I noticed there is that for the very first time, Simon refers to Jesus as master, okay? He's already let Jesus in their boat, like Pastor Tasia said, and they're being available to him. And then he recognizes him as their authority, calling him master. Because he's close, he's in the boat, Simon is obviously able to hear Jesus' ask, which is important. But I believe that being close to Jesus also helped him begin to realize who Jesus was. The second thing that I notice is the what that Jesus is asking them to do. Jesus is asking them to put their nets that they just washed down again. And washing nets was not an easy task by any means. It's super labor intensive. They were incredibly heavy. It took a lot of work to wash the nets after they used them. And these nets that they're talking about are already on the shore drying. So essentially, what Jesus is asking them to do is to undo what they had already done, to start over, to go back, drag those nets back in the boat. It was inconvenient ask for sure, maybe a little bit annoying. But on top of it being an inconvenient ask, Jesus knows that it's actually a ridiculous ask. It's daytime right now, and the fish that they're talking about usually move to the deepest part of the water. And these nets that they have are not made for deep fishing. They're made to hover over the top, right, where fish would be schooling in the middle of the night, kind of top of the water, mid-water. They weren't made to sink at the bottom where the fish would be. Jesus also knows that to their knowledge, the one that's asking them to do this is a teacher, a rabbi, not a fisherman. Nothing like someone who doesn't do what you do, trying to tell you how to do it, right? And Jesus also knows that they're tired. If you didn't catch it, they'd been fishing all night. That means they worked the night shift, and they're still awake. And they let Jesus in the boat and let him do his teaching. And now, you want me to go back out in the water? I'm tired. I don't know how many of you have worked a night shift before. I know I have. And when it's done, it's done. You're ready to go to sleep. He also knows that they're discouraged because this whole time they've caught nothing. And yet, he still asks. Now, in this moment, I would imagine that those three men in the boat, that it may seem like this being with Jesus stuff had become more of a burden than anything else. It was all about getting his stuff done and being useful, and now following ridiculous requests. But the reality is that this proximity with Jesus provided them an opportunity for obedience. I say the word obedience because of the wording that Simon uses in verse 5. If you say so, I'll let the nets down again. If you say so. I don't know about you, but that's clear language to me that he doesn't actually want to do it, but he's going to do it anyway. And I say the word opportunity because of what we're about to read next. Verse 6. In this time, their nets were so full of fish, they begin to tear. Proximity provided a harvest. They caught so many fish that it began to break their nets. They caught fish that shouldn't have even been there, with nets that shouldn't have even been able to catch them. And their nearness to Jesus, mixed with their obedience, led to a mind-blowing miracle that provided them with so much more than they could have ever done on their own. They could have settled for no catch that day. They could have even settled for allowing Jesus to use their boat real quick and then go home. But there was more for them. See, Simon, viewing Jesus properly, firstly, allowed him to respond to Jesus properly, which led to the more that Jesus had planned all along. And I think in just these two verses, it speaks to me and you, because Jesus is still out here making ridiculous requests. When he's in our boat and we can hear his voice, he may ask you to do something that you may think is the wrong time, the wrong place. You don't have what you need, and based on your evaluation, it won't work anyway. But I'm so grateful that Jesus is still out here making ridiculous requests. Again, PK and Mel, thank you for your obedience. Thank you for letting your nets down again and again and again through different seasons in your life when you thought it was the wrong time and you didn't have what you needed to make it work. God showed you that there is more. It's because of your obedience. So proximity provided an opportunity for obedience. Proximity provided a harvest. And proximity provided one more thing in verse 7. Let's read it together. 7, a shout for help brought their partners in the boat. And soon both boats were filled with fish and on the verge of sinking. Let's read it again. A shout for help brought their partners in the boat. I think Jesus taught Simon an important lesson that day, one that he didn't even know that he was learning. See, someday Jesus would change Simon's name to Peter, which means rock, and he would build his church on that rock. And someday Peter would be catching people instead of fish. And just like his nets alone were not enough to hold the harvest, neither would he alone be able to contain the harvest of people coming to the kingdom. So he taught them early. He taught them real early to make space for other people to be a part of what God is doing. Proximity provided partnership. Partnership with what Jesus was doing, but also partnership with others. It started with a decision from Simon, and because of that, it affected the two men who were already in the boat with Simon, and then went to the boat across from Simon. It was too much to do on their own, as it should be. So Jesus made the catch that day so big that it would force them to bring others in. I believe that's how the kingdom is supposed to be anyway. That's how Jesus led. And I'm so grateful to be in the boat with some incredible people that are leading the same way. To sum all this up, proximity provides. Proximity provides proximity with Jesus provides the opportunity for obedience. It provides a harvest in your life and the lives of others. It provides opportunity to partner with God and bring others into what God is doing. And that's a whole lot in just a few verses. But believe it or not, this story contains even more. And so I'm going to bring my friend Pastor Darius out to give you the rest of this story. Let's go, PD.
Come on, make some noise for Pastor Bridget. Come on. I'm like, dang, I gotta follow those. No, but I love what Pastor Bridget ended on. Proximity provides partnership. So I'm gonna jump right into the very next verse. In verse 8, it says this: when Simon Peter realized what had happened, he fell to his knees before Jesus and said, "Oh Lord, please leave me. I'm such a sinful man." So I want to make note of Peter's response right here, because I would imagine after experiencing this miracle, he would have been shocked, he would have been amazed, and like Pastor Bridget mentioned, proximity provides partnership. So for Simon Peter, here are really the beginning stages of a partnership he's about to have with Jesus. And I think he knows that. And so immediately after this, what does he do? He begins to acknowledge who he's not. He becomes aware of his sin. And what does the verse say? He falls to his knees. Now, why is that important? See, I think Simon Peter realized that he was in the presence of someone special. I think he realized that he was in the presence of somebody that had the power to change his life forever. And so he falls to his knees. And I think that's important because he says, oh man, I'm such a sinful man. But if you look at the text, Jesus doesn't say anything about sin right here. And so because he was in the presence of Jesus, he was convicted. And that's important because anytime we're in the presence of Jesus, we're going to be challenged to change. Anytime we're in the presence of Jesus, we're going to be encouraged to look more like him. We're going to be encouraged to get rid of the things in our life that to trip us up and hold us back. In fact, the more we experience Jesus, the more we want to become like him. Picking up in verse 9, it says this: for he was awestruck by the number of fish they had caught, as were with him the others. Now, I want to take a moment and try to visualize this, right? This miracle, they're in the middle of a lake in a boat with Jesus. That's already crazy. Like, they're in the middle of the lake with Jesus in this boat, and they have this amazing catch, right? They catch all these fish, so many fish that the boat is on the verge of Now, the way my mind works, I have to imagine that there probably were some other boats out there that were watching this and like, man, what is going on over there? Like, why haven't I caught any fish like that? And so not just were the people in the boat amazed, but I would imagine that people that were watching were amazed as well. And here's what I love about this story is that Simon Peter, as I kind of looked at some commentaries, some of the commentators said that Simon Peter and some of the other men that were in the boat, this wasn't their first encounter with Jesus. Like they had heard about Jesus healing people. They had seen Jesus maybe cast out some demons. But I think this miracle was different, right? Because it's different to hear about something, but it's a whole nother thing when you experience it for yourself. And so these men in this boat, they're close to Jesus. They have proximity to Jesus, and that's why proximity matters. Because when you have proximity to Jesus, it doesn't just influence you; it influences who you become and what you do. And so this miracle for Simon Peter was important because he didn't experience the miracle by himself. He experienced it with other people in his boat. And so proximity matters to Jesus. It matters to others. And that's why us as a church, that's why we value community. You've heard Pastor Bridget say it. You've heard Pastor Tasia say it. Community is important to us as a church. We value being able to experience miracles together. We value being able to do life together and walk things out together. And there's no better couple that I know that are better at doing that than our pastors, Kevin and Mel. If you've been around them any amount of time, you know that they love doing relationships with people. They love being in the boat with people and helping people walk through things. I know for me personally, my life has been changed just because I've had proximity to them. And this is what happens to the men in the boat. They have proximity to Jesus, but they also have proximity to others because when we have proximity to him, it influences. It matters. Looking at verse 10 and 11, it says this. I love this part. It says his partners, James and John, so he had community in the boat. He had people in the boat with him, doing life with him. It says the sons of Zebedee were also amazed. Jesus replied to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be fishing for people." And I would imagine he was like, what? Like, what does that mean? Fishing for people. Verse 11, it says, as soon as they landed, they left everything and followed Jesus. Now, as we get towards the end of the story, I think this part is really, really important. Because Simon Peter's proximity to Jesus didn't just influence him, it influenced everyone around him. And so all of the men in the boat made a decision. It says that they all left everything and followed Jesus. So they all made a decision to follow Jesus. They all made a decision to live life in proximity to Jesus, right? And to influence the kingdom. Now, they didn't know that Jesus was going to use their life in mighty ways like he did, but it started with proximity. And here's what I want to get us to understand this morning. We've already kind of said it, but here's the key. When we allow Jesus into our boat, it doesn't just affect ours, it affects the people watching our boat. See, some of us, we don't realize that our obedience to what Jesus is asking us to do is going to affect people that we don't even know that are watching. We don't even know that are around. And so our obedience to Jesus has never been just about us. Proximity to Jesus, it influences. And the truth is that when God does something in our lives, it's a ripple effect of what he wants to do in the lives of those around us. And so for the men in the boat, what it meant was from now on, they were going to make a difference for the kingdom. From now on, they were going to reach people with courage. From now on, God was going to use their gifts and their talents to make a difference for the kingdom and to help people experience the hope of Jesus. These men, they were just fishermen, right? But Jesus chose to use them. And so let that be an encouragement to you this morning. No matter where you've been, no matter what you feel like your gifts are, your talents, no matter how inadequate you feel, Jesus wants to use you to build the kingdom. He wants to use you to influence everybody around you. And so this morning, as we begin to close, I I want us to have an opportunity to respond. And so if you're a part of our team that normally comes down and prays for people, you can begin to make your way down. Um, I think God has spoken some things to us this morning. It comes down to community. It comes down to relationship. You've probably heard that theme intertwined through the message this morning. The truth is that God wants to have a relationship with you. He wants to have proximity to you.
God